Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
And you're not competing with anyone, at least in my mind, I'm not competing with anyone there. Even with the running, which I've switched over to walking, I still go to walking groups. I spend time with my friends. Nobody cares when we get to the finish line. We really don't. The finish line is that you finished. That's all it means. And so when I first started this, when you say the light bulb went off, I just saw everybody around me doing things that I couldn't do. And I guess that's part of the feeling of wanting to accomplish. And you learn, you take a class here and there, you take up a sport, you take up a hobby. If you're not good at it, either you keep at it for fun or you find something else. It's not the end of the world. We have a very unfortunate mindset from our childhood that if you don't get an A, you're a loser.
Right.
And nothing could be further from the truth, right?
Right. No, I totally agree with that. And even if you don't get an A, right, the most important thing is you keep learning. The most important thing is, and that's, by the way, the story of your life.
Yes.
The story of your life is you never stopped learning, and you never stopped gathering knowledge, and you never stopped, letting life teach you lessons.
Absolutely.
And that's all part of why you succeeded the way you have, and you're continuing to succeed. That's a big, big thing. And I believe that a lot of people that are going to listen to this episode are going to be inspired by you. I truly, truly believe that. And I truly believe that they'll get more active and they'll start eating better.
I hope so. Like I said, that's the message. And when I moved to LA, I call myself a late bloomer because I found all these things later than most people, but I guess maybe there's no no comparison to it. And I'm in my mid-30s and I'm kind of on the fence. Do I move back to New York and go back to what I know? Do I stay here? Do I keep trying? Things were going well. And, I had my books out, but I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And a girlfriend of mine said, I want you to meet my boss. He's not really my boss. He's my friend. We went to college together. He's a lawyer. He's divorced with 3 children. And I think you two would like each other. So she said, just come to the office with a couple of cups of coffee, pretend you're coming by to say hello. And I won't spend too much on the show with it, but a little bit and on and off and a lot of friendship. And that's when I met my husband. I said, I'm not staying here. I think I'm going to leave. I'm going to move. And I met my husband, Aaron, and we got married. I was 37 and he was 51. So at the time, it was really a late in life marriage. Nowadays, people are getting married in their 70s. And that was 27 years ago. And I said, I'm not staying here. And again, I'm here 27. We have a 23-year-old who's graduating college on Sunday. And, so that's like a path I never in a million years thought would happen. And that was a huge source of pain for me of making it into my mid-30s. And I wasn't married. I hadn't had any real serious relationships. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And I always say, people would say, oh, you're pretty, you're smart, you wrote a book, how come you're not married, kind of thing. And I'd be like, well, I never met anyone that wanted to marry. I may have felt strongly they didn't. There was never any horrible stories. And I don't have these horror stories like a lot of women do. It never really clicked until I met Aaron. So now here we are all these years later. And I can tell you that marriage is hard work also. I don't care what anybody tells you.
Oh, sure.
And a lot of people will say that, oh, it's been blissful since the day I got married. I don't believe that. And anybody says that, it's horrible from the second I met him. Well, there's always some silver lining in every relationship, I feel. So
yeah, no, I agree with that.
Something
everybody has their take, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that I know after 30 years of marriage, it's work.
Yeah.
That's
it's work.
simple.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your new book.
Yes.
It's Okay to Be Old.
Mhm.
I love this.
Thank you.
The first thing that you point out is accept your age. Talk about that for a second.
Okay, so how did I get here? This is an interesting question. I'm a nutritionist and a fitness trainer, a wellness educator, doing this for years and years and years. And I had my daughter at 40.
Mhm.
And when we started school, I'm in my early 40s, and a lot of these mothers are as young as early 20s, right?
Yeah.
And just complaining about how hard life is and how, thinking to myself, I'm 20, almost 20 years older than some of these women. Most of them, I was still about a good 10 or 12 years older. And I thought, they don't know the half of it.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, it's hard, but there's so much they're going to be faced with over the next however many years, because you never know how life is going to unfold.
Mhm.
And I'm running marathons and I'm on TV and I'm doing all this stuff and I have a baby. And I thought, okay, what am I doing right? I really felt that way about myself. What am I doing right that I'm able to do all this? I'm light years ahead of these other women, both in experience and in age. And there was a part of me that was, I'll be brutally honest, envious that they had had their kids in their 20s, because then they'll be 40 and the kids will be grown. And when my daughter's grown, I'll be in my 60s. But,
Mhm.
more on that later, because there is no telling how long you're going to have.
Sure.
So women who have their children younger, that doesn't mean they're going to have a longer time with them. I've learned this. But at the time, I thought, well, okay, what am I doing different? And I started to research it. So while my daughter was a teenager, I came out with a third book called Scrumptious Sandwich Salads and Snacks, because I was saying, okay, how do I teach the kids a little younger to take care of themselves?
Mhm.
What can we do? And Gabriella was 16 and she'd say, you don't know what kids like. And I said, well, tell me, what is it that kids like? And we'll do this together. So we wrote Scrumptious Salads, Sandwiches, and Snacks together. And
Mhm.
that's my daughter on the back. And we wrote it for high schoolers and for families to, to really have that on the go, quick, food that everyone enjoys and still likes. So that was more of a vanity project, but it got out to who we wanted it to. But I started to learn what the parents were feeling. They were terrified of turning 30. They were terrified of turning 40. And I said, this is interesting
Mhm.
because I'm going to be 50, right?
Mhm.
And so that's how the whole evolution of studying aging came to be. And in 2019, right on the eve of the pandemic, I released Eat Well, Live Well, Age Well. And it was all about lifestyle choices and habits that help you age well, which led into saying, you know what? That's great when you're in your 40s, even in your 50s. When you get into my market, I always say, is 55 to 75 and beyond. That's a different level of accepting age. And that's where we are. You really, in order to move forward, you have to accept where you are in life. Your
Yeah.
age, your physical, your financial status, just know where it is. No matter how bad it is, we can fix it. If you're still
Yeah.
alive, father would always say, if you wake up every morning, you can still fix it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nobody died, right?
That's right. Nobody died.
Right. So here's what I think is so brilliant about you. Your daughter turns to you at the ripe old age of 16 and says, you don't know what kids like, right?
Right.
Most parents would go, "Psh, whatever, and walk out the door.
That's right.
Not you. You ask her. So tell me, what do they like? In fact, let's make a difference in this world and let's write a book together, right? And we'll help people figure out how to cook scrumptious things.
Right.
That's the difference between you and the rest of the world. I love it. The second thing that you point out in your book is live life for you. Talk about that for a second.
So this is what, again, because it's targeted towards my age group, which again is broad, but everybody, and this is why, Mike, if we have a few minutes, I want to talk about the living generations because it plays
Absolutely.
a huge role in this, and
Absolutely.
that's why I included it in or a little bit in our preliminary talking. Um, so I'm losing my train of thought about a little bit, but living life for you, where you at, is a huge departure from what we're taught. We're taught you have to fit into society, you have to be polite. This is what you have to eat. This is what you have to do. And the bombardment of that has just become insane. It's overwhelming. And at some point, you have a right. Well, you've always had a right, but you may not have known that. You have a right to make the choices that are good for you.
Mhm.
So you want to be a ski instructor, but mom and dad are saying, no, you have to become an accountant because that's the only way you're going to, and I actually know someone that happened to, and you have to find a way to earn money.
Mhm.
And yet the person's unhappy and they've been doing it for 30 years. We're talking lifetimes, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And you talk to them now and they're in a painting class. I'm an avid knitter. I've been knitting for 50 years. I learned when I was a little kid and it's exploding now. So I teach knitting to older women just for fun. You know, people call me once in a while and I pop in and do that.
You
And,
donate what you knit
and I donate what I knit.
to
I don't.
charities.
Yeah. How did you know about that?
It's on your
You
website.
did a lot of research on me. Okay,
I
good.
read about you.
Yes. So what I did was, at the beginning of the pandemic, I made a blanket for my daughter to go away to school with, and I thought, "Oh, this is fun." And then when we all got housebound, I started making scarves and blankets and wraps. And then I found out somebody had something going on, whether it was an illness or something going on in the family, a financial difficulty, or they're just housebound. And I just sent them out all as gifts. So, and now I'm teaching, like, again, not on a regular basis, but if someone calls me, I will. And you have no idea, Mike, you do, because this is what you do. How many people I meet in my travels who say, you know, I've been an attorney for 40 years. I've been a doctor. I've been a nutritionist. I've been in finance. I've been in real estate. And I've hated it for the last 15 years. And just to come and sit here and knit with you, or people who take painting classes, opens their world to a whole nother realm of creativity they never thought they had. And maybe I just met with a woman who's designing the cover of my new book, who
Mhm.
said she hadn't picked up a paintbrush in 60 years. Now she's selling her artwork all over the country.
Yeah.
So that's when I say live life for you. Those are the kinds of things I'm talking about.
So
Yeah.
John Rich has a favorite saying, and it's that you're not promised happiness, you're promised the pursuit of happiness,
Yes, I love that. I
right?
love that. Yes.
So my mother-in-law, just real quick, used to make blankets and other things. Like she used to make towels and that kind of thing. She was big into sewing, quilts, that kind of thing. And
Okay.
she would
Mhm.
donate them to abused women's
Oh,
shelters
that's so nice. Yeah, it's so
so that
wonderful.
when they came in, they had something that felt like home.
Yes. Yes.
It just
Terrific.
it always touched me, you know.
Yeah.
The third thing is nutrition and fitness always go hand in hand when discussing wellness.
So we are again in a world that's bombarded with nutrition and fitness information. And I'm here to tell you most of it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because you have physical predispositions, you have genetic variables. And if you don't mind my saying, the audience and us, go look up something called precision nutrition. And they have a chart and it tells you the cost of being lean is what
Mm,
they call it. And it goes through all the body fat percentages. What does it really take to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger? What does it take to be a Kathy Smith? What
mm,
does it take? And a lot of it is harmful and a lot of it is drugs, and it's all day and all night the pursuit of perfection, physical perfection, which again, there's a genetic predisposition. There's a lot of behind the scene that goes into. So the only thing you see is a supermodel or a perfect hourglass or a guy who's a perfect V with shredded, ripped. None of this is applicable to almost anybody's lives.
right.
And so I say, you know what to do. I keep joking. I wrote the next book because I was tired of telling people to drink water, eat lots of vegetables, and get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. The
Mhm,
reality is, we know this is good. You know what to do. If you want to call me and ask me some tips, I'll give them to you. But we all know we need to eat fruits and vegetables, keep the sugar to a minimum, and get 30 minutes of at least walking in every day, preferably vary your workout routines. But it's really for your general needs. Ask any cardiologist today or endocrinologist. What they'll tell you is eat healthy most of the time, keep sugar and alcohol to a minimum, and get out 30 minutes a day. I
mhm.
want to reach out to those people who also have physical limitations and they can't do these things. There's chair yoga, There's tabletop exercises you could be doing. Again, I'm not trying to shame or push anybody, but just 30 minutes of getting some sort of movement enhances what's in your body known as proprioception. And that is your body's ability to know where you are in space. So it keeps you upright, it keeps your digestion going, keeps your heart rate up. These are the basics that we know to keep us well.
Yeah.
And you don't need all that other stuff. I don't, I always say I'll never get rich because I don't have a scheme to sell. It's, you got to get back. So what do you like to do? Do you like yoga? You like walking? Do you like tennis? The new thing is pickleball. Do you like golf? Do you like none of it? Do you just want to do it, watch a tape on TV and do floor exercises at home? It's all yours. Whatever it is you do, you like, that's where I say, do what's good for you and live life for you on every level.
Yeah, do what makes you happy, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm a big believer that we exercise on a regular basis because it keeps our body in repair mode. When
Yes.
we go to sleep at night, the reason why if we have a good workout or a good day being physical, the
Yes.
reason why we sleep well is because our body at night is repairing us to go out and do it the next day.
Exactly
And
right.
it's a big deal. It's a big part of
Yes.
health.
Yes, absolutely.
You also mentioned simplify your life. Talk about that for a second.
One of the things that it's almost horrifying to see how many people are hoarding.
Mhm.
And it's a nationwide epidemic. It's not as bad in other countries if you do the research. People are holding on to things for life, and what it ends up clutter and chaos in your home actually wreaks havoc on your brain and on your body.
Mhm.
So the more things you accumulate, here's a classic scenario. You're in your 50s, you lose a parent, um, or maybe other family members, and you have the biggest house in the family or the
Mhm.
largest space. So you take everything into your house, and then you become the disposal for everything. And then all of a sudden you have your stuff, you have your parents' stuff, and you're so attached to it. Oh my God, that's my baby pictures. That's the couch we used when I was a little kid. I was guilty of that. I took all the stuff from my parents' house because my family, they live in apartments in New York and Chicago, and I
Mhm.
had the house. And then all of a sudden you have all this stuff and you don't know how to get rid of it.
Mhm.
With age, whether it's societal, some of it's personal, fear sets in that you're not going to have enough or you're going to be abandoned or people. And so you buy more, you buy things you don't need to make you feel better. And this is the beginning of it. So here you are with all this stuff in your house. You can't find things. As you get older, Mike, I hate to break it to you, you do slow down and things do get harder. It doesn't have to be hard or terrible, but it absolutely, when you're 30 and you're bouncing back and forth, you don't bounce back as well. I don't care how fit you are or how many blueberries you eat. That's a reality. And that becomes harder to clean up. It becomes harder to decipher things. And then
Mhm.
you can't find that can opener and you go out and buy another one. Then you find both can openers the following week. Get help for this.
Mhm.
Anybody who feels overwhelmed by their home, even if it's not as bad as I'm telling, get somebody in to help you and say, you don't need this, you don't need that, get rid of it. They don't have the emotional attachment. I know there's paid services that do this, but call a friend. Just say, could you help me get rid of mom's stuff? I can't bear the thought of it, but I know I don't need it anymore. And people are saying nobody wants anything, drop it at Goodwill. You mentioned earlier about shelters. You can bring clothing to women's shelters. You can donate to all over the world. There's people suffering. You can donate it to all kinds of causes, but you got to make the effort and research it and do it. So that simplifying your life, simplifying your finances, reduce the amount of credit cards you have, consolidate your bank accounts, go to the bank. They're there to help. You don't have to pay the banker to help you. Go in and say, what is it I need to do to consolidate my finances so I feel safe and I feel comfortable? Okay. And it's the same with people. Are you doing too much? Do you belong to a gazillion clubs? Are you accommodating or helping friends all over? Say, you know what? No, I can't help you today. I'm sorry. I have to take care of my own life. That all falls under that umbrella of simplifying. So you're not worn out every night at the end of the day, because that leads to cognitive decline as well.
Yeah.
That sheer exhaustion that we feel. Yeah.
And that line that you just mentioned leads us to the next one. Loneliness is the new sitting.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Sitting became the new smoking, the thing that's really bad for you. And
Yeah.
now loneliness we're finding. I'm sure you're hearing that wherever you go, is that community and people and social interaction is critical. we know now on a very physical level, if you're not having social interaction, you do decline. You decline physically, and you decline emotionally, and you decline cognitively, because speaking and talk, we're meant to speak and talk and interact. We're meant to have human contact and be around other people. And when we're not, we lose our ability to interact with the world. My friend who's a specialist, he's an MD, and he specializes in how nature heals us. So I always say the big three is find a friend and go for a walk in a wooded area or where there's trees or foliage. Go to a, public gardens or a public park. So that combination of having someone to talk to, being in nature, getting the sunshine, and being out in the world does wonders for your body. I have to tell you, I have such mixed emotions, Mike, about all the interaction now online. So we're having a Zoom, and it's wonderful, and we're interacting. And I know it's better than nothing, but it's really important to get out and see people. And like I said, whether it's take a class or go for a walk. I was speaking to someone yesterday who's relatively young. She's in her mid 60s. And she goes, well, I just get my groceries delivered. I don't need to go out anymore. I said, you do need to go out.
Yeah.
You need to go to the supermarket or the dry cleaners, or, go for a walk and buy an ice cream cone and go out and take a walk in the park, because staying at home and having everything delivered, I know it's convenient, but it's to the point, Mike, they leave the groceries at your front door. Nobody talks. Everything's by text, or, okay, I'll take a picture. Your package is outside. The pandemic did a number on us there. But we are safe to go out and be out again. And people really, really need to do that. Also physically, once you start physically declining, if you don't keep that up, it's going to get harder and harder every day.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'll do one better if it's okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm piling on and I apologize, but go serve. Go serve others.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Because there is nothing, absolutely nothing on this planet that will fulfill you the way serving somebody else will.
There's no question about it.
Helping them get over something, right?
Right.
And even if all it is you go to a battered women's shelter and you give them hugs.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Tell them it's going to be okay, right?
Right.
It's, life is about who you can help.
Right.
Now you have to help yourself before you can help everybody else. There's a reason why they tell you on a plane, when the oxygen mask drops, you put yours on first and then you help somebody.
And you're well enough
The
to
other
help
way
others.
around, right?
Yes,
You have
absolutely.
to take care of yourself, which is something I learned in 2018. I lost 162 pounds because I learned that I was living by a lie. That was a lie I was telling myself. Okay. And I finally figured out in 2018 that I needed to take care of me, or I just wasn't going to be around to take care of anybody.
Right.
So
Right.
you take care of yourself first, but then you gain the energy and you gain the strength and you gain the clarity to then go out and help others. And
Right.
that's really what all this is about. I feel.
Congratulations. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So next is be clear about your end of life wishes. Talk a little bit about
That's critical. Write down what it is you want for your end of life. Say it out loud. Tell somebody. Make photocopies. Yes, ideally, you want to go to a estate planning lawyer and get everything written out in one of those, giant volumes.
living will.
So it's airtight, living will, advanced directives, all that kind of stuff. But you can even do simplified versions. I tell everybody, call your local hospital, and they have a booklet. And you just write everything out in the booklet. In the end, you can say, I wish to be buried in my family's cemetery. Here's the phone number and the address. This is what I want. And they have all different levels. If something happens to you, what level of care you want, how long they should keep you alive, etc. There's a lot of religious implications. There's a lot of cultural implications. But you have a right to choose how you want it. Fill it out. Give it to your local hospital, your doctor, and a family member, and make sure it's in place that somebody has it. Find somebody to go to bat for you if you need it later on. And also, there's this terrible misconception. I'm planning my death. I'm bringing on my demise. No, you're making life simpler for the people around you to get, to get what you need. And even, whatever it is, that person that's taking care of it, if and when something happens to you, isn't going to be stressed out and not have any idea where to go. It'll all be placed out. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on this. Just get it in place. I feel very strongly about that. Mike, I want to throw something in. I know we're getting towards the end,
Oh, go
but
ahead.
how many of you hear that somebody your age dies? And what's your first response? They died. They're only 50. They're only 60. They're only 65. I can't believe he died. Oh, 72. That's young. The reality is that's what's happening. Okay. The average lifespan is still only 79. We have these outliers, and we're hearing about the people living into their 90s and hundreds, and hopefully that's increasing. But the reality is, the older we get, the older we think old age is, right? And we keep putting things off. So I got long-term healthcare insurance under 40 years old. I thought about it a long time ago. I've had my stuff in place forever. And so that I've been very, very conscientious about. Yeah.
Well, there's a relief to it. Once you do it, once you have it handled, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And you're not burdening other people that you love with that. You literally are giving them the answers in terms of what your wishes are, and go forward. One of the things that I would encourage people to do is look into the idea of a trust, look into the idea of moving your real estate and your assets into a trust.
Yes.
Then you avoid probate. You
Yes.
avoid all these issues where the state is making a decision. I mean, some people want the state to make the decision for them. I get all that, but most people don't. Most people, if they had their choice, would want to make the choice themselves as to who ends up inheriting their assets, right? Who ends up inheriting their real estate, that kind of thing. I've seen some of the worst things on the planet happen because the state was left to be involved in how to manage this estate.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they make the right decision, but a lot of times they don't. And people get hurt in this.
Yeah.
So if I was going to encourage somebody in terms of end of life, look at the idea of putting a trust together.
Right.
Look at the idea of memorializing your wishes and having that in a legal document that somebody can access. And one other thing, if you do in fact establish a trust, make sure you get a copy of the trust, because this is a big deal. Make sure you get a copy of that trust to somebody that you are going to have.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you die, then the people who are your trustees are going to have to show up, and they're going to have to try and find your document.
That's
and
right.
Lord knows where that's going to be.
That's right.
And it could be in a place where in your mind you think, oh, well, the law firm has a copy of it.
Right.
What happens when the law firm goes out of business? They get rid of all of that. When they sell, they get rid of those records. I've had this happen. I've literally had this happen. So make sure that you have, even if it's a safety deposit box, even if you take it, put it in a safety deposit box and leave the key with somebody, at least it's there and it's somewhere where they can access it. So if they can't access it, a trust isn't worth anything if you can't access the actual document. So I think that's very, very important. And what you're doing with writing this book is really big. It's a lot like your life, though. You wrote the cookbook because you wanted to change people's lives for the better. You wrote the dessert book because you wanted to change people's lives for the better. You wrote the scrumptious book because you wanted to change young people's lives for the better. And now you're writing a book for people that are aging to make their lives better. Your entire life is just making people's lives better.
Thank you.
I couldn't be more proud of you if I tried.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm very proud of you. You lost 168 pounds. It's amazing.
It was 162, but I'll take it.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
My pleasure, Mike. Wonderful to meet you. I wish you all the best.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.